सहना ववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमु रामाय तस्मै नमः रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम् रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः 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 ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। Fifth through seventh verse, 12th chapter. क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषामहं समुद्धरता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम्. Bhagawan is answering Arjuna's question. Bhagavan, who has understood you better? Those who worship you with forms, Saguna Bhaktas, or those who have understood your formless nature, Nirguna Bhaktas? Amongst these two, who has understood you better? Bhagavan said, those who worship me with form, with lot of faith, they are the Yoga Vittamaha. They have understood me very well. What about those who are worshipping as Nirguna? He said Nirguna Bhaktas, first of all, they need some qualifications. Sense organs should be very well controlled. Then they should have equanimity wherever they see at all times, in different places, in all situations. And third one, he said, they should have this inherent desire to help others. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. One who lives a very self-centered life, for that person, Vedanta is very difficult. One who is able to relate with others, in 6th chapter, Bhagavan says, one who is able to relate with others' joys and sorrows. In others' joy, he feels joy. In others' sorrow, he feels sorrow. That person becomes fit to study Vedanta. It's interesting. This kind of a mindset is also a result of Vedanta. This kind of a mindset is also preparation for Vedanta. So wherever he gets an opportunity, he feels very blessed that Bhagavan is making me into a sadhaka. Any opportunity to serve, any opportunity to help anybody. He says the benefit is not outside, benefit is here. With that, he will understand Lakshana of Akshara. The indicators of Akshara was mentioned in 3rd verse, Adresh, not Adreshyam. I'm in Mundaka mode right now. Aksharam Anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatra gamachintyam cha kutastam achalam dhruvam. All these indicators, everything will become very clear to this sadhaka who has qualifications of verse number 4. Now, Bhagavan admits that directly walking on the path of Vedanta, directly trying to understand Nirguna Brahma, has lot of difficulties. It is not impossible. Kleshaha adhikataraha, not adhikatamaha. It is not supreme most difficulty, little bit more difficult than Bhakti Marga. In Bhakti Marga, Klesha is adhika also. To surrender doership to God needs lot of unfolding. To accept every result in our life as his prasada. He says there is some klesha even there. But compared to that klesha, the difficulty of Nirguna Brahma is greater. Adhikataraha tesham avyakta asakta chetasam. Those who want to abide in avyakta, their heart is pulling them somewhere, but because the preparation is not there yet, they find the journey is very rough. Asakti is there. They want to abide in Nirguna Brahma, not that they don't want to. But that effortless abidance, enjoying the Jivan Mukti Phalam, that is not seen. The main shortcoming, main limitation, Bhagavan said, there is lot of attachment to body. Deha Vadbihi means those who have strong Deha Bhimana, I am this person. If you notice the teaching in Saddarshanam, Raman Maharshi first corrects this understanding. He says, so long as I think I am with form, I cannot appreciate God without form. So long as I think I am with form, this is I will not be able to appreciate Bhagavan without form. The moment I say I am formless, the moment I say I am formless, not this body, the question of whether God is with form or without form, that dissolves. The moment I say I am formless, this is the question itself dissolves because the questioner is gone. That was Ramana Maharshi's teaching in Saddarshanam. If I think I am with form, until that point, I'll be able to connect more with Bhagavan with form. But whenever I question my formlessness, then I can appreciate Bhagavan as formless. There is no klesha there. Klesha for a bhakta will be this. Klesha for a bhakta is, yes, always related to Bhagavan with form. Now, if Vedanta is telling there is only one non-dual truth, to transcend the form will be his klesha. And the teaching given there is, we don't have to worry about transcending Bhagavan's form. You first transcend this form. Means instead of having strong notion that I am this body, I am this mind, I am this person, this is at least for some time think about yourself as pure consciousness. And then see whether questions of form and formless remain. So from that consciousness standpoint, he says there is no questioner remaining, there is no question also, there is no klesha in that way. But we had also seen klesha refers to pramana sambhavana, prameya sambhavana, and viparit bhavana. I will not elaborate it, but it's always good to keep revising what these terms mean. They have a very specific meaning. Our communication is more precise if we are on the same page. You know, doctors, when they talk about some simple thing, there is a blister on your palm, they will not say blister. Some complicated word they'll use. You wonder what is there. It's a small blister only. But it helps them communicate. right? You know precisely what they are talking. Like that, the language of Vedanta also helps in communication. Pramana Sambhavana, Prameya Sambhavana, and Viparit Bhavana. Now the bhakti teaching begins, where Bhagawan says, those who are walking on the path of devotion, surrender to God, their well-being is my responsibility. What did the devotee do? They said sixth verse was devotee's role, seventh verse is Bhagwan's role. Sixth verse is Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha. Whatever duties he has been given based on his role, whatever sadhanas he is doing, even if it is social work, if you ask him, for whose sake are you doing it? His only answer is, may Bhagwan, whom I love so much, be pleased with my work. May be pleased with my way of doing the work, and may be pleased with the work itself. Externally, it might look he is doing some very mundane task, very ordinary task. But internally, his bhavana is this. Means he might be, let's take an example of mother feeding the child. Externally, it looks mother is feeding the child. But devotee who is doing the same action, that devotee will feel, I am feeding Bhagwan through the child. My Bhagwan Krishna is appearing as the child, and I am feeding my Bhagwan through the child. If a devotee is taking care of parents, externally it might look doing so many things for mother and father. But in his mind, the bhavana is, I am serving my Bhagwan through my parents. Suddenly, every small task becomes very meaningful. It might be a task of sweeping the floor. If Bhagwan gets connected to that sweeping action, that person becomes Shabariji. Sweeping the floor, anybody can do. But to do it in such a way that this action is surrendered to God, this is that makes a person true devotee. Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya. Keep asking yourself, for whose sake are you doing it? Doesn't matter which action it is, whether it is good, whether it is something that I don't like. I say it doesn't matter which action it is. Only thing is, for whose sake. This will happen only when I have considered Bhagwan as supreme. That is why that word is there, matparaha. Matparaha. Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, he explains this word matparaha in a very simple way. He says we give power of attorney, right, to somebody if you have to do some legal thing. Like that, he says, give your power of attorney to God. Whatever he decides, he says, in that I'll be happy. Whatever is his will, in that will, I'll be totally content. He says that is the meaning of the word matparaha. And if I've understood nature of God, I will have this conviction that whatever he is doing is in my well-being only. He will not do anything that will harm a devotee. Whatever he does is in our well-being. Has this devotee stopped working? He says no. Still he is working. Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya. That word mai sanyasya is important. For whose sake is he doing it? Ananye naiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. As far as his shelter is concerned, surrender is concerned, it is only in one altar. He doesn't have faith in 10 different things and also in God. He has faith only in God 10 different things, he's doing it as devotion to God. Because we see generally whenever we have to get some work done, person might have faith in several things. He might have faith in some powerful person. He might have faith in resources. He might have faith in name and fame. Sometimes they say, right, you take my name, that work will be done. बोलो मैंने भेजा है, I have sent, that work will be done. He says he doesn't have faith in 10 different altars. Data ek Ram, the one who gives is only the Lord. Holding on to him, he does all other things, whatever has to be done. Faith doesn't go in people, doesn't go in any object also, inert object. Did we see the example last time? Upamanyu, that is the example for Ananya Yoga. Upamanyu was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And once Lord Shiva, to test his devotion, he comes disguised as Indra Bhagwan. And when he comes to meet Upamanyu, Upamanyu welcomes him, makes him sit in his ashram, gives him a lot of respect, gives him a lot of things. Now Indra Bhagwan says, you have pleased me with your atitya, with your hospitality. Ask whatever you want. And Upamanyu says, Indra Bhagwan, you misunderstood me. My atitya was not to get something from you. My hospitality was as my duty, as my kartavya. Giving and taking for me, he says, is only with Lord Shiva. Giving and taking is not with everybody. That is only with my Bhagawan, and he has given me plenty. That shloka is very popular. It says, Api kitaha patangoyam. I will become a moth, I will become a fly. Bhaveyam Shankarajnaya. If Lord Shiva wants, I will become even that. But Natu Shakras Tvaya Dattam. O Indra, there is nothing that I seek from you. Trailokyam api kangshaye. Even if you give me the kingship of all three worlds, he says that giving and taking, I'm not interested in. If I ask something, I will ask only from God. We should appreciate the bhava. He's not arrogantly saying it. What he's saying is, my sambandha with Bhagavan is so strong. If at all I want something, I will ask only from him. And in this transactional world, moment we are in karma, there will be some things that we have to ask. So instead of asking from the world, he says first ask from God. Puja Guruji mentioned this in, I think, Navada Bhakti or previous ones. It says sometimes we do the opposite. We say, God knows everything. Why should I ask? And in front of world, we end up asking. We say we should do the opposite. If at all we want to ask from Bhagavan. And in front of world, we should become desireless. Ananyeneva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. The one who meditates on me in this way, through their action, through their life. What do I do to that person? Tesham aham samuddharta. That person, I lift them up. From where? Mrityu samsara sagarat. From day-to-day confusion, day-to-day samsara, but also from the final samsara of jivatva. Thinking that I am a jiva is the supremost samsara. Teshamaham samudharta means I bring knowledge in their life. Remove this notion of finitude, remove this notion that I am a jiva. Madhusudana Saraswati ji, he writes a very powerful sentence in this verse commentary. I read it several times, because it's contrary to what we are generally used to hearing. He says, if somebody can be sincerely devoted to God and live life in the way that is mentioned in 6th verse, even without Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, they will get knowledge. Even without Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, they will get direct knowledge from Hiranyagarbha. And he says, what is obstructing us from owning up this knowledge is our inner impurities. The pratibandhas which are there, they are obstructing us to internalize this knowledge which we are getting through Shravanam. So he says, if that obstruction is removed through grace of God, that knowledge will dawn upon that sadhaka. And that is the epitome of devotion. Means he's talking about the knowledge that got revealed to rishis. Ritambara prajna, they say, means in that pure mind which is devoid of all impurities, that knowledge of the truth dawns upon that mind. For a sadhaka, we just have to take that knowledge, whatever has dawned on great people, and try to internalize it inside. But that word is very beautiful. Samuddharta means not only he removes transactional problems, saves us from transactional difficulties, but also gives us the supremost knowledge. This is the sweetness of Bhakti Marga. They say there are two types of devotion, right? One is Markatavat Bhakti, second is Marjari Bhakti. Markatavat Bhakti means like a monkey, baby monkey holding on to mother monkey, or child holding on to father in a mela. That little boy, one finger he's holding. Now and then, if too much crowd comes, he gets separated and starts crying. Like that, this baby monkey holding on to mother monkey, whenever it jumps, it falls down. On the other hand, Marjari Bhakti is the cat holding on to the kitten. The cat holding on to the kitten, or father holding on to the child. His hand is more powerful. He will not let him go, the small child. So the second bhakti is Bhagawan holding on to Bhakta. His Bhakta's role was he was sincerely doing his duties, remembering God. And what result came is Bhagawan started becoming his protector. You see the word that is used in the second line, Bhavami is said, right? Bhavami is present tense. The moment he starts living life in that way, when does God's protection come? This is not after some time. Right from that instance, he starts feeling Bhagavan is my support. He is the one who will pull me out of difficulties. So in Bhakti Marga, it is Marjari Bhakti, where the kitten is held by mother cat. So Bhakta is held by Bhagavan. You feel that is much safer than the other one. If you see a lot of other yoga darshana practices, whole onus is on sadhaka. Yama, niyama, asana. Asana nobody else will do. You only have to do. Pranayama, nobody else can do. You only have to do. Pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. This is a lot of onus is on the sadhaka. In Bhakti Marga, the onus is on Bhagwan. The responsibility of sadhaka is to remember him and work. That is the job of a sadhaka. You know, if it is practicing this verse is difficult, let us say 6th verse, there is a simpler technique for it. Is a Bhagwan remembering you all the time is sometimes difficult because my mind you don't know. It is so powerful whenever Raga Dvesha comes. You say, where is Bhagwan? My own mind goes and does what it wants to do. That's why rishis have given us the concept of Sankalpa and Visarjanam. They say before doing any work, do Sankalpa. Sankalpa is not necessarily chanting all the mantras, but in our mind we should say, Bhagwan, this is the attitude that I want to keep. And after the work is done, chant that Kayena vacha manasendriyirva buddhyatmana va prakrute sabhav. Karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayanaeti samarpayami. So early in the morning, do sankalpa. And before going to bed, do visarjanam. That whatever I did throughout the day, I offer it to you. One good thing which will happen is I will start realizing what all erroneous things I did today. That is one beauty of offering all actions to God. Throughout the day, if I remember my actions, whenever I stepped away from values, mind itself will come and tell me, these things you cannot offer to Bhagawan. Correct it tomorrow and then offer it. That is the beauty of doing sankalpa. Means it's a reminder that my identity should shift. As a human being, if I live my life, it's nothing great. Everybody lives. But if I can live it as a devotee, holding on to values, he says that is something great. It is not prakrutika, it is samskrutika. Prakrutika means instinctive life. Mind wants to go somewhere, it goes. Mind wants to say something, it says. But what is samskrutika? Mind does that, whatever is dharma. Speech does that, whatever is according to the transaction fit for a devotee. He says that is what this sadhaka has to remind himself before entering anything. We can do it with 1 day timestamp or even shorter things. At work, if you are going into a meeting, do this sankalpa before. And after coming out, same verse. More we can bring it in our day-to-day life. This abhyasa will slowly help us live this 6th verse. Otherwise, sarvani karmani looks like a tall ask. How can I devote all karmas to God? I should start with smaller karmas. You know that first line of 7th verse needs more reflection. What is the first line? Tesham aham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagara. Bhagawan becomes the savior of his devotees who are living a God-centered life. In what way does he do uddhara? In what way does he save devotees? How does he lift them up? As far as our individual journey is concerned, we'll have several stories to share, how he has lifted a devotee from difficulty. But from a spiritual standpoint, it is said Bhagavan lifts devotees by giving them right satsang. Whatever is needed outside, so that he can tune more towards spiritual pursuit, giving those avenues, opportunities, and the right set of people to be with. That is not decided only by Jiva. Where we end up and with whom we develop a bond, what is our satsang group? If we get the right satsang, he says that is God's grace. To find the right group of people to discuss about God, that is one way he does uddhara. Otherwise, imagine if somebody has deep desire for spiritual knowledge, they want to do satsang, want to live a spiritual life. But you are in a place where none of these opportunities are available. It's a very difficult journey for a jiva. Ramakrishna Paramahansa says, we need doctors, especially if there is some chronic disease, you cannot just do one visit. You have to do a constant visit. Like that, this mind, whatever erroneous notion he says it is like a chronic pain. One visit is not sufficient. You have to do it constantly. So wherever we get constant satsang, wherever we are able to put our mind in Bhagwan constantly, that is Bhagwan's grace. That is one way of Bhagwan working. Second way is he decides what we need and what we don't need. That is another way of doing Uddhara. If somebody has surrendered to God, he will give us what is needed and he will take away what is not needed. The best example for this is Naradji. We had seen last time also that he wanted to marry Vishwamohini. It was Bhagwan's Maya. He created everything. And when Bhagwan came and took Vishwamohini away, the amount of anger he had towards Bhagwan, he said, my family was about to get settled. He had only seen her. He said, I was about to settle down in life. You couldn't bear it. And you took her away. And he gives Shrap also to Bhagwan. Then when he takes his Maya away, Bhagwan takes his Maya away, Naradji regrets a lot. He says, what did I do? What did I ask? What did I say to Bhagwan? And what does Bhagwan tell Naradji? He said, this was my Ichha. Because your vritti was not to go in that path. Because of Maya, you just had a passing thought of Vishwamohini. That was not your inherent nature. So what is good for you, Bhagwan says, I know it better than you. Whenever this bhavana comes, we will not have complaints about anything. What is that quote Gurudev has? We get what we deserve, not what we desire. And the next part is also there. Only he knows what we deserve. We get what we deserve, not what we desire. And he knows the best what we deserve. If you look at the way Bhagwan gives, it looks as though he gives in well-distributed time span. He doesn't give everything at once. Whenever it is the right time to give a karma phala, he says, here, you take this. Little bit later, you find another karma phala. He says, here, you take this. Sometimes what happens is we ask all karma phalas right at once. What is supposed to come 5-10 years later, he says, I want it right now. Bhagavan says, I can give it, but it is not good for you. Whenever it is the right time, he gives it in a way that it doesn't become an obstacle in our spiritual growth. Tesham aham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagarat. But we have to do our own mananam also, to understand what is this samuddharanam of Bhagavan. How does he lift a devotee up? But main point we have to remember, one is transactional lifting up, second one is lifting up from jivatva. Jivatva word is clear, right, to everybody? The notion that I am this person, the notion that I am this body going through samsara, that is the greatest samsara, that is the ocean root of samsara. To remove this finitude and help us abide in our own blissful self, that infinite self, that is Bhagwan's greatest uddhara. Not only bring knowledge about this self, but also help us abide in this self, revel in this self, that is Bhagwan's uddhara. Otherwise, imagine, where are we reveling? As a jiva, where do we revel? In the world, in sense objects, in people. He says, if that reveling can shift to self, that reveling can shift to Bhagavan, he said that is his greatest uddhara. That's why if you ask or read any composition of devotees of God, you will not find them praising any material thing or material benefit they have received. What they will praise is this pure love for God that we got. Is that was your greatest blessing. If you ask Sudamaji to write a composition, he will not say, Bhagwan, you blessed me with this big, beautiful home, blessed me with all these things. His attention is not even on that thing. The main thing he is thankful to God is the pure love that he got. So many compositions, we have to try to see it. What are they praising there? Devotees, when they write, what are they praising? Now, Bhagwan gives a very nice advice to Arjuna. What is that advice? Let us see in the 8th verse. Mayye vamana adhatsva mayi buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi mayyeva ata urdhvam na samshayah. मय्येव मन आधत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अत ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः. Bhagwan, if you do uddhara of everybody, why didn't you do uddhara of, if you do uddhara, he says, why didn't you do uddhara of everybody? Do you lift everybody from samsara? Or only few people? Bhagwan says, depends on the devotee. Whatever they do, based on that, my uddhara swarupa manifests. So 8th verse is telling, who are those people who come to receive this God's grace in a very special way? Bhagavan says we have two faculties. One is mind, another is intellect. Intellect tells us what is supreme. And mind tells us where I should revel. Our taste is not decided by intellect. Taste is decided by mind. What should be my taste? That is decided by intellect. Intellect is the good big brother. He takes all the good data, all the information, keeps it with him. And the mind is the mischievous younger one. Whatever the elder brother knows, he says, you keep it with you. I will go wherever I want to go. That's why you see in that chariot analogy, what is the position of mind? Mind is a rein. And who is the charioteer? Intellect. And what are the horses? Sense organs. So this rein sometimes goes according to the horses. Wherever the horse wants, there the rein goes. Not listening to the charioteer at all. And sometimes the rein goes with the charioteer. It is very well controlled and it decides where the horse should go. That's why Bhagavan puts it in the place of reins. Mind is lagama. That rein is mind. Sometimes it will go with sense organs. Sometimes it will go with intellect. So here Bhagavan says, once this intellect has decided, Bhagavan is the goal. He says, my taste also should come in Bhagavan. Mayi eva mana adhatsva. Mana adhatsva means pull back your mind from sense objects and turn it within. This mind has a unique nature. Whatever is the nature of object, so will be nature of mind. If object is tamasic, mind is tamasic. Object is rajasic, mind is rajasic. It is called as tat akara vritti. Tadakara vritti. Tat refers to that object. Akara means form. Vritti means thought. If let us say I have this mic as the object, if I'm seeing the mic, which vritti do I have? Mic akara vritti. If it is, let us say, some rajasic or tamasic object, some anger is there. Anger is krodha. What is the mind that I have at that point? Krodhakara vritti. Krodha akara vritti. Some other sense object is there. According to that sense object, that akara vritti will form. Now the suggestion given by Bhagwan here is, if Bhagwan becomes our Vishaya, either Leela of Bhagwan, Naam of Bhagwan, Roop of Bhagwan, whatever connects, whatever attributes are there of God, if that becomes our Vishaya, what is the mind this person will have? Bhagavat Akara Vritti. Bhagavat Akara Vritti, that is the meaning of the word Mayeva Mana Adhatsva. Means if you look or search the mind, we will find the object of that thought in the mind. Mind can never be without an object. Think about it, huh? Can you have a mind without Vishaya? Can we have a Vritti without Vishaya of Vritti? If you remove Vishaya, that Vritti will merge into consciousness. If you remove Vishaya, that Vritti will become Shuddha Chaitanya. But in simple words, every Vritti should have a Vishaya. So instead of having several other worldly things as Vishaya, he says, at least for some time, make me as your Vishaya. Mayi eva mana adhatsva. Let taste come by remembering the Lord, remembering his attributes. And Mayi buddhim niveshaya. May the intellect also make a resolve. May intellect make a resolve to seek me. Mayi eva mana adhatsva, mayi buddhim niveshaya. Unless intellect has made this resolve, mind will not by itself come back. I should know, why am I pulling back this mind? Right? Unless I have something higher, it will not let go of lower. Mayi buddhim niveshaya. If I do this, Bhagwan's promise is nivasishyasi mayi eva. He says, you will come to live in me, not in the world. Physical body might be there in world. But this is as far as your mind is concerned. He says, you will live in my protection, in my grace. Nivasishyasi mayi eva ata urdhvam na samshayah. Hereafter, whatever situations come, in those situations, this devotee will never feel he is alone. That is one way to look at the second line. Nivasishyasi mayi eva ata urdhvam na samshayah. Means after gaining this kind of surrender in Bhagavan, putting our mind in God, putting our intellect in God, this is what comes out of that is a life which is free from worries and anxieties. If Bhagavan has all strength, they say we should seek that strength to face our life. Or another thing is, if some problem we are unable to handle, they say we should give our problem to him to handle. So Puja Guruji's beautiful pointer, he said two things we can do. See, Jiva has all problems, no strength. God has all strength, no problems. So what can I do? Either seek his strength to face my problem or give my problems to him. What is the technique of doing it is the first line. Mayi eva mana adhatsva, mayi buddhim niveshaya. Mind should start getting taste in Bhagavan, at the same time putting forth effort to understand what is the path, what is his nature. Intellect, it can have lot of information, but unless mind cooperates, that intellect cannot operate. Means that intellect's knowledge is not helpful. So if you have a choice between two, right? Putting mind in God and intellect in God. Intellect in God means getting a lot of clarity, studying, having a lot of knowledge. Ideal is to have both. Let us say one is predominant. It is said putting mind in Bhagawan is greater than putting intellect in Bhagawan. Example of just putting mind in Bhagawan is that person will become a sadhu. Means his mind doesn't run after Vishayas, his personality or mind revels in God. You ask him more details about God, he says, I don't know. But I have faith in God, and with that faith, I am able to think more about Bhagavan. Intellect, if it is too strong, then we might end up into some kind of scholastic knowledge. This I realized when I was reading one book. I won't, I think I can quote Vedanta Sara. Vedanta Sara, there is one commentary where lot of cross references are there. Vedanta Sara, the Sanskrit commentaries which are there is very complicated. Every quotation that comes, where all cross references they have been pulled up from, everything has been listed. Great work he has done, lot of detailed work. But then I was reading the preface of that book, where he says, in today's times, Vedanta doesn't work. That is his conclusion after doing so much of research on Vedanta Sara. And he says some other religion, other school of thought, that is the school of thought we need for today's times. This example we are just seeing to appreciate what is the meaning of Mai Buddhim Adatsva and Mai Mana Adatsva. Mai Buddhim Niveshaya. Putting intellect in some topic means getting clarity about that topic, understanding it more and more. But Mai Mana Adatsva means our taste has to change. Taste has to change. Bhagavan should become something towards whom our mind can effortlessly go. That is the meaning of this. If both are there, if Mai Buddhim also happens, Adatsva happens, and Mai Eva Mana Adatsva, Mai Buddhim Niveshaya, mind and intellect both going towards Lord, this is that person will become Vidwan Santa. Vidwan also because of Buddhi, and Santa also because of Manaha. Somebody like Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is an example of both. Mai Eva Mana Adatsva, Mai Buddhim Nivesha. So many compositions on Saguna Brahma. But at the same time, so much of depth about what is Bhagwan's nature. See, entire Ishvara Siddhi Prakaranam in Kenopanishad, how much clarity he gave on what is nature of God. That is the difference. Both should be strengthened. What result we should always remember and keep asking ourselves, where am I living? Am I living in this world as a samsari? Or am I living in this world under God's grace? Bhagavan says, Nivasishyasi mai eva, you will come to live in me. The second line, Shankaracharya translates it, and other places it is translated from a traditional meaning standpoint. Means first line, if somebody practices, keeps their mind in God, Ata Urdvam means after death. After dropping this body, the journey of this jiva is into Bhagwan's loka. Loka of the Ishtadevata. That is the another meaning of Ata Urdvam na samshaya. Nivasishyasi mayeva. Right? Second meaning is clear to everybody? Nivasishyasi means stays. Okay. Mayeva means in God's world. Ata Urdvam means after dropping the body. In this, don't have doubt. Na samshaya. Okay. Now somebody says, Bhagwan, you told put your mind in me, put your intellect in me. Little bit difficult. What should I do? Next verse, he appreciates our concern. Atachittam samadhatum न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततः मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततः मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय. Arjuna, if you are unable to put your mind steadily in me, atha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mayi sthiram. Pay attention to every word. Huh? Bhagawan is not saying you are unable to put your mind in me at all. He is not saying that. If somebody is unable to put the mind for a longer duration of time, sthiram means now and then I can put, but even if I want to put it for little longer duration, it doesn't stay there. Atha chittam samadhatum, if I am unable to put my mind in Bhagawan steadily, na shaknoshi, then what is the antidote for this? First antidote Bhagavan says is abhyasa. The tendency of the mind to run out, it is not its inherent nature. We might feel that way, that mind is inherently going after sense objects. He says that is the nature we have built upon ourselves. Any habit is created, ordered by us. If we have to undo it, Bhagavan says we alone can undo it. So if I'm used to giving this mind rajasic and tamasic vishayas, that is a habit I've created. Bhagavan says now start giving this more and more. Start giving Bhagavan as vishaya more and more. Train the mind in that way. Abhyasa means that repeating a thing over and over again. And he says mind learns in this way. Whatever things it has learned now has learned only to repetition. Only thing was subconsciously we repeated it. Any vishaya, any personality trait, a passing thought of an object doesn't create desire, doesn't create impression. But whenever it gets repeated, that repetition becomes its stronger nature. So Bhagavan is as though telling us, don't just criticize the mind that it is like this. We have to understand how this mind is. If enemy is standing, we should not just criticize the enemy. We should know the nature of enemy and know how to deal with that enemy. This point will again come in Bhagavad Geeta 6th chapter, where Arjuna complains about his mind. And Bhagavan answers by saying, merely by complaining about this mind, we will not get anything. We have to understand how this mind works. Bahirmukta, the tendency of the mind to go out, he says it is not inherent, it is created. So with all the inner stamina that we have, he says try to do the opposite practice. Make Bhagavan as the Vishaya, at least for that duration, and repeatedly put mind in Bhagavan. Even this meditation practice, the more we start doing it regularly, we will notice the ability to calm the mind down is greater. The effort needed in taming the mind goes down. How did it come? Through abhyasa. Otherwise, we might have the best technique of quietening the mind. If abhyasa is lacking, then the technique is of no good. Because these are all things of knowing and doing, not only knowing. If I only know and don't do it, it is like knowing all the strokes of swimming and not entering in water. I know precisely what is the best way to stay afloat, how to reach there in least time, all gadgets and all, everything I know. But only thing I have not done is abhyasa. Just like it is true for worldly things, Bhagavan says devotion for God is also like that. I need to do this abhyasa where I repeatedly put my mind in God. And second thing, Bhagavan says, Arjuna, if mind is not settling in God, we have to constantly ask ourselves, how badly am I seeking God? How intensely am I seeking Bhagavan? If that intensity is low, he says, it is not surprising if mind doesn't stay in God. So, on one hand, Bhagavan's advice to sadhaka is increase this desire for God. And on the other hand, repeat this practice of putting mind in Bhagavan. Ramakrishna Paramji, he writes in one place that just like we shed so much of tear for world, jugs of tear, he says, like that even little bit we shed for God, is our life will change. That he has to feel one day has gone and whole day went by without increasing my bhakti. Janama taro baat mein beet gayo. Kabahu abahu na Rama kahyo. Kabir Dashi says, whole life went by in just talking. Janama to baat mein beet gayo. Kabahu abahu na Rama kahyo. Even now, this person is not saying Rama. 5 बरस का भोला भाला अब तो 20 भयो. That 5-year-old child has now become 20 years old. मगर पचीसी माया कारण देश विदेश गयो. But because of Maya, he went on traveling so many places, doing so many things, but forgot this main purpose of life. This is Bhagwan's advice to Arjuna, how to put mind in God, how to put intellect in God. Okay. Abhyas is for mind and increasing Ichha is for intellect. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om. Next Saturday, we will not have class because it's Shivratri. 7th evening, we will start. What is the date? Shivratri, 7th evening, right? 8th evening. 8th evening, Friday. And it will go all the way until Saturday morning. So we will not have the morning class. Balvihar classes will be there next Saturday, Sunday. And next week, regular classes. Okay. Hari Om.